400 Days centers on 4 astronauts who go on a simulated mission to a distant planet to test the psychological effects of deep space travel.
4 wannabe astronauts are part of a private space company's simulation to see what it'd be like for deep space travel, and can they withstand 400 days in an isolated space.
While they are in their isolation in the ship, something happens, it's the apocalypse, or maybe they're just tripping out. They try to figure out what the hell is going on.
As the movie unfolds, you start asking yourself, is it really a simulation? And what exactly is happening? And where are they?
All anybody wants to see is more information. Give me more of a treasure map so I can try to put this thing together.
The world they discover after 400 days is not the world that they left.
It's different, it's cool, and it's strange. As soon as I read the script, I had a lot of questions, and that's sort of a refreshing thing.
I remember reading it the first time and I got about 40 pages in, and then I immediately stopped and then just had to start rereading because my brain had to recalibrate.
I thought it was a really interesting script because at certain times it was really funny and other times it was really scary.
It's a thriller, a mystery, a suspense movie. It's all of those things and more.
Matt actually asked me, do you think it's real or not real? As strongly as I'm like, no, this is what it is, the person next to you can be like, no, it's definitely an experiment. I think that's what makes it a lot of fun.
So when I first read the script, did I think it was a simulation? Did I think it was real? I think I was on the real side. I think it's ultimately more appealing if it really happened. That asks more questions that I'm excited about wanting to find the answers to.
A lot of people ask if I think it is real, do I think it's a simulation? I'm still trying to figure it out.
This one sort of leaves you thinking, well, wait, what does this mean, and what actually did happen?
That can be a strength for an audience to want to come back. Say, what the hell did I just hear? What did I just see? That makes sense. Doesn't that guy look familiar from some other scene?
The casting process is always so fun because all of these characters that are on the page, hopefully somewhat three-dimensional on the page, start coming off of the page and new opportunities start coming up as you realize, oh, this actor, Dane Cook, is a good example. He was the first on. And Matt and I went and met with him. And we were actually a little bit nervous to meet with Dane. We sort of knew his persona, but we didn't know the guy.
Here's this huge superstar that wants to be in your film, and we were lucky to have him, and he just crushed it in this movie.
It's an adventure, you're investing your time into this fantastical voyage that a lot of it takes place in your mind. A lot of it is going to be your perception. A lot of it is going to be, when buttons are pushed, how you project yourself into these characters. And I think that's the greatest movie-going experience.
Caity Lotz and Ben Feldman came on next. I mean, what are you gonna say? They're just geniuses.
This is a really cool group of people. And everybody's like fun and funny, and no one's a diva, and no one's a jerk. And there have been plenty of opportunities to be both of those things. We're lucky that it's a good group because you kind of get, in a movie with 4 main characters, you get tossed into, well, it's like a spaceship.
I wish this was a TV show so that we could keep working together for a long time. They're a lot of fun. Everybody's so different, but everybody meshes really well.
And then Brandon Routh came on. He was the last to arrive and just had great ideas about how his character arc could flow and about how to go from being a character who is not active, who seems like he doesn't care about things, to somebody that, really steps into a leadership position.
He's the guy who kind of tries to keep everybody together as things start to fall apart and questions pop up one after the other about the true nature of their simulation.
Day number 1 of production was quite a challenge. Day number 1 on any production is always going to be tough. The crews never worked together. I hadn't directed a feature in like 4 years, so that muscle wasn't as strong as it could have been. It was an amazing experience to work with Bo, the cinematographer. He's young, but he's very experienced, and he's done amazing stuff, and I've been kind of following his work for a while. He was kind of always my first choice, and luckily I was able to convince the producers that he was a good choice as well. I think we're all incredibly happy.
Any of you quits early, I'll 86 your career in a nanosecond. I'm not kidding.
Grant Bowler just showed up, and I feel like I didn't even need to do my job. He just had it licked right away. I just would make up things to give him, you know, some notes.
I think right after Dane, Grant was the second person to be cast. And he came in and met, and he's Australian, so he's better than all of us.
He's such a big personality, in a good way, total good way. And I had a lot of fun working with Grant. I wish he was around more with us.
Day 2, we found a studio that had a number of our locations. It had the bedroom for the lovers, it had the jail for the opening of the movie, a hospital, the outside of a police station. We sort of set up a backdrop so that Grant could be speaking from mission control. All of the video footage that comes when they're on the ship. So that's a lot of things to cover in one space.
So we kind of had a busy day there. We got a lot done. The nice thing about shooting in stages, you can move pretty quickly between sets. It's kind of like, all right, you guys set up here, I'm gonna peek in over here, make sure they're on the right track, and kind of go back and forth. That's not ideal, but much of movie making isn't ideal. It's all about the art of compromise. So it's all about getting it done. Cut, great. I'm glad we did that last one.
There's the movie.
That was the movie.
One night, my manager called me and said that John Suits offered the role of the vagrant at the beginning of the film to me. I said, sure, I'd love to do that for them. You got any more of those smokes?
Quitting anyway.
The last thing that we shot on that day had a dying child in it, a weeping wife, and was an extremely emotional scene for Ben Feldman's character, Bug. An actor having to get to a place where he's re-experiencing his child dying is tough stuff, and Ben Feldman is one of the best actors in Hollywood.
I think the interesting thing about Bug is that he's first and foremost sort of this loving but regretful father, and yet at the same time he himself is so childish. So I've been really playing around with that a whole bunch.
So on day 3, we spent the day in a bar, which we shot in Agua Dulce, which is very, very hot normally. On this particular day, it was extremely hot.
It had one little wall air conditioner that obviously you can't have running while you're filming, so it was like, cut, turn it on, okay, turn it off, roll, action. Compounded by the fact that A, you have lights, B, all of the actors are wearing spacesuits.
Spacesuits are a lot of work, and helmets are even more work. They're really hot for the actors. The helmets fog up and it's hard for them to hear each other. They're suffocating and that's tough for the actors, which is tough for me because I hate to see them suffer in my wardrobe.
Well, the spacesuits and the helmets are an interesting little rig to make it, more convenient for the actors to get in and out, which is super fun when they say, okay, well, let's get them in the spacesuits right now, and it takes 15 minutes. They get in and out and deal with being a little toasty.
So we kind of had to figure out how to control our breathing, and I had breathe down, try to exhale out, so that it wouldn't fog up, because then you had to take it off and you mess up your hair when you take it off, and you got to put it back on, and I got to strap it, and it was a whole thing.
That was not so fun. They look cool at the lights on the inside and the lights on the outside, but within 10 seconds of putting the helmet on, it's fogged up.
For some reason, mine fogs up more. I don't know if my breath is more humid than the average human. It's been an obstacle, not a very difficult one. There are people who have worse problems than us, few actors that are putting on spacesuits. It's not ruining my day.
They look cool on film, and at the end of the day, it's really all that matters. You guys better suit up. It's cold outside.
Suit up. You know they're pretend suits, right? They weren't meant to be.
Fine. Go out there without one.
This scene was the first time that we got to see the townspeople, at least in terms of production.
Our natural instinct is, ooh, effects. Let's throw in some fun little blood stuff or nicks or wounds, but we really had to kind of hold back in the sense where, well, we can't give too much away.
Sketch, he hasn't had a good solid meal in a long time. He's a hungry guy. He serves his drinks with a smile.
4 beers.
No beer. Just the house special.
Just making sure they know that what I was doing on screen was cinematic gold. Listen to what the test audiences are saying. More Bogart.
We shot at an abandoned house. That's where the crew first comes in. They see the swing set, which luckily for us was actually at this house. We thought we were gonna have to buy or build a swing set and put it somewhere. When we scouted this location, it came with the creepy old swing set, so we got really lucky in that regard.
We shot inside of the butcher's kitchen area where we see a bunch of human blood, and we see that there's a caged human.
The creature, very fun guy, Mark Steger, who choreographs a lot of zombie movements, and so I was very excited to have him on. And we were going for creepy and gaunt and not Gollum. We didn't want a Lord of the Rings type of wispy hair character.
Working on our spaceship was pretty cool. It did feel a little bit claustrophobic and even disorienting in a way because everything's so white and crisp and clean. It tricks you a little bit in whether it's day or night, what time is it, how long have we been here. All of those things really kind of played into us as actors, I think.
The ship to me is like the shark from Jaws. You don't see a lot of it, but what you do see makes you believe there's so much more.
Are we moving? Playing Bug is fun for me. He's weaker than the other people on the ship. He's a little strange, and he's clearly a little damaged, and he's got a lot of demons that he's battling. It's been fun to kind of materialize that and physicalize it and come up with strange little tics.
You know, when you have actors, I assume Ben Feldman said this, where they say, I just fell in love with the script. While that might be true, my take on that is kind of like this. So for me, what attracted me was essentially they backed up the money truck, and I'm like, I can be bought.
Tom was absolutely amazing in the role, and again, I didn't have to do much work there. I just kind of set action and kind of let him do his thing.
The character I play, Zell, is the most handsome character in the movie. Zell is just dashingly handsome.
Well, it's a small space and it's a beautiful set, but it's a bit fragile, so Stunts, we're trying not to break it. So, sorry, Tracy.
I'm not pointing fingers, but there were some hefty men banging into walls. A little temporary pain.
The fight stuff in the movie, I think, looks really pretty epic and hard-hitting. I was really excited about how that aspect of the film worked out, and it all seems pretty violent and good.
I really like stunts. I like doing stunts. I like hitting other people.
I got a real special fight sequence with Brandon Routh that I think is going to cut together really nice.
I don't think you'd mind me saying this, the most senior gentleman I've ever had to have in a chokehold. He was like a champ with that. I got to beat up a lot of people in this movie, actually.
When you're 4 years old, you go out as a boy and you tussle and play, and this is the kind of stuff that you imagine that you're doing. You're in a spaceship, you're having a fight with the bad guys. And here, people are building us a spacesuit and paying us money to do that. So that's pretty cool.
The fight scene was really exciting, especially with Brandon, because I think him and I knew that we wanted our characters to really finally, have that butting of the heads moment. And of course, if you know anything about your origin tales of superheroes, he was Superman and I was the Waffler in Mystery Men. So obviously, the audience needed to see that.
No matter how tired we are, crazy things get on set, it's still one focus, one goal. And I think that's what's really driving people home. We're pretty much in the home stretch now. We see the end now. We're just racing toward it, and everybody's excited to see the finished product.
I got the art department to get a couple of champagne bottles with breakaway glass. Then we broke them on the ship and had a big round of applause for Matt Osterman. It felt like a real high point, even though we were exhausted.
When we shot that long table scene in the diner, table scenes with a large cast are incredibly hard because you have everybody looking each way. We would do a camera over each shoulder on the actor, and then when you have 5 actors, that's, quite a bit. Tom asked if he could go last on that day, and I'm like, okay, if you really want to sit through all these takes and do it over and over again and keep that level of energy up, he's like, no, I prefer that. And I knew he was a great actor because 6 or 7 hours into the day, when he was repeating it for the 12th time, the other actors were still kind of staring at him like totally engaged with his performance, and the camera wasn't even on Tom yet. He was just giving that to them.
You must have had a really good hiding spot.
I like the idea of making small films and making independent films and having that family for that amount of time. Everybody's really passionate. That's the exciting thing about independent film, is when you have a team that can work together and actually listen.
There's a nice story here with our director, Matt, in that, here's a guy who worked really hard on something he believed in. He conceived of this thing He managed to tailor it in a way that he could tell this story without having to have a massive budget. Matt has managed to cable it together with somewhat limited resources and tell every inch as good a story as he would have told if he had like a massive budget. I think it's a testament to, just stick-to-itiveness that this guy had this idea, stayed with it, and now here we have a movie. And make no mistake about it, he's the guy. Hats off to you, Matt.
I love working with writer-directors because it's, their vision through and through. And Matt had such a cool idea with this, and I think he's doing a good job with the scary and the funny and all the different types and meshing them together.
The ghost town is the first location that we locked. We were on the fence about it because we wondered if the town looked too fake. But then we thought, actually, that could be a real advantage because in the world where this is a simulation, it's the kind of thing that, maybe these people could have built.
The Tranquility shoots were our first night shoots, which are kind of exciting, but also really frightening because you don't know how your body and mind are going to react.
So that's a whole other element in itself, staying awake.
We had a big storm that happened in that town as well, so we had to bring in a giant fan, a gas-powered fan, and just pummel the crap out of our actors with that dust. I'm sure they ate a couple handfuls of it when it was all said and done. I'm pretty sure I did too. Our last day of filming was all the exterior field stuff, when they pop out for the first time and when they're traveling through that kind of lunar landscape. That was just a desert field kind of in the middle of nowhere. Dusty, hardtack quality to it already that worked perfectly for us. As the hours kind of dwindled down on that very last day and we could start to see the sun come up, kind of that bittersweet moment where I was incredibly happy to be done. But I was also sad too because these people turned out to be, great friends.
The feeling at wrap, you're always exhausted. Did we get everything? What could we have done better? What if we had one more day? But it's also a giant relief.
My expectations, my hopes are, that people see the movie and are entertained and they leave the theater asking questions.
When you leave and you want to talk about a film because you felt like it was so important to you that you need to defend or deny or rebel against, whether you're a believer or whether you're skeptical, I hope that you pick your side and I hope that you stay tried and true to it. I'd like to be a part of some of those conversations. I think I could help.
Well, I hope a lot of people see it, for doggone sure. And I hope some of the right people see it that will give me other work.
My hope is just that people enjoy it. I want to see it first, make sure it's good.
I assume Caity, Ben, Dane, and Brandon are all going to be competing for awards. My hopes are that it wins lots of awards, but that those four don't rub it in my face.
I want to do a sequel because we need to find out where the Dvorak went.